I know what you're thinking. I thought this was a PlayStation channel. Why are you talking about the GameCube? I don't see a PlayStation logo on that square. Yeah, I get it, but just because I'm a PlayStation channel does not mean that I cannot talk about Nintendo or Xbox games. I am a gamer first and foremost. My channel will focus mostly on PlayStation, but on occasion I will talk about other consoles and games from those consoles as well. Why? Well, because it's my channel and I can do what I want. Now, for the reason for talking about the Nintendo GameCube instead of NES or SNES or the N64 or the Wii or Wii U or whatever, it's because we've been hearing rumors lately that we will be getting some GameCube ports onto the Nintendo Switch, and I'm a big fan of the GameCube, and though I did not grow up with it compared to the PlayStation 2, I found so many good games on that system, and during the Xbox 360 era, I played a lot of GameCube games, and there are so many games that are worth playing today, and today we're going to talk about 10 of them. Just like in the previous two videos, I want to make one thing clear right from the start. All of the games I am talking about today are only games that I own, at one point owned, played, or beaten. If I do not talk about a game that you love, that does not belittle that game because everybody has their own favorites. Several of the games I left off this list are amazing, and I would be here all day if we talked about every game I would recommend playing today. If you have not already, please like this video, leave a comment about your favorite GameCube games and memories, and subscribe for more video game content. But let's jump into today's video. One of the best games released on the Nintendo GameCube was the crossover fighting video game Super Smash Bros. Melee. Super Smash Bros. Is a popular video game series, and Melee was one of the best games in the series that will still be played long after its sequels were released. Super Smash Bros. Melee is a game that features characters across all Nintendo franchises including Mario, Zelda, Star Fox, and Pokémon, among many others. Melee introduced several new characters from across the mini-series and the addition of Fire Emblem characters. Super Smash Bros. Melee features similar gameplay to the first game as it takes the traditional fighting game elements and adds new elements of how damage is inflicted, the way you fight, and the movability of the stage. Super Smash Bros. Has created a whole subgenre of games in the fighting category, and we have seen so many games try to replicate it. You can fight up to 4 players and fight across many stages within the Nintendo franchise. Each character can use items within the maps, including different Pokemon, and can gain abilities to use their special finisher moves. The game was mostly a multiplayer game and allowed for 4 players to fight against each other in free-for-all or on separate teams. The game was a perfect party game that allowed you all to fight each other with your favorite characters from Nintendo. There was also several single-player modes like Classic Mode and Adventure Mode that lets you play with different characters and fight boss characters as well. The single-player game modes help prepare you in some ways to train for facing opponents in real life and get you used to the different characters and items. There have been many new games within the series, but many still enjoy this game still today, and I am one of them. Nothing beats Melee in my opinion, and though I do love the addition of new characters in future installments, there was just something special about Melee. That's why I put this game on the list of GameCube games still worth playing today. On this channel, I've talked a lot about Resident Evil so far, and I'm not going to apologize for that because it's one of my favorite game series ever made. One of my all-time favorites used to be a GameCube exclusive called Resident Evil 0. Resident Evil 0 made its appearance in 2002 on the GameCube, and when my best friend at the time brought the GameCube over, we would play this game together and try and beat it. The first boss of the game was one of my favorites in the series, and of course it was that huge scorpion. It was decently difficult, and for me at that time it was nearly impossible to beat. This game was my first true introduction into the series. I had watched a friend play the 4th game in this series, but I actually played 0 first, and I loved it from day one. It was not till later on in life that I brought the game and a GameCube and played it for myself. Resident Evil 0 plays similar to the first game, but follows characters Rebecca Chambers and convict Billy Cohen right before the events of Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil 0 was the first time in the series that you control 2 characters and could switch between them. When not controlling a character, they would be following you. You could even split them up to solve puzzles, which was necessary at many times in the game. Both characters also played differently, as Rebecca had a mixing kit that allowed for combining herbs and chemicals, but defensively she was weak. Billy, on the other hand, could move heavy objects, use a lighter, and had a higher defense. You had no item boxes in the game, so you had to drop all the items on the ground, and on the map would display those dropped items if you needed them later. The game in many ways was better than the first game, and a full remake of this game today with the ability to play co-op with friends would be fantastic. Resident Evil 0 had a great story as well, and sadly we have not seen either character in recent installments of the series. If you've never played this game, check it out because it is well worth it. Just like the first game on this list, Mario Kart has had multiple games made over the years since its creation. But Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube is probably the most unique game in the series and can only be enjoyed on that system. Double Dash was the 4th game in the series and the 3rd on home consoles. Double Dash introduced many new gameplay features, including co-op gameplay that allowed each person to take control of 2 characters on one cart. One person would control the cart, and the other person would control the items. No other game in this series had this same gameplay mechanic, and that is what makes this game awesome. Double Dash supported LAN play and allowed for up to 16 players to compete at the same time. Of course, like any game in the Mario Kart series, you race on different courses inspired by Mario and try to win by getting in the first place. The map has several items you can pick up that are given at random. Shells, bananas, and items that slow down enemies or render the person invincible to attacks temporarily. The game had 20 playable characters from Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Bowser Jr., Donkey Kong, and more. The series has had many improvements over the years and additions of characters, customization, etc. I can easily recommend any of the sequels in this series, but in my honest opinion, Double Dash is one of my favorite and most unique games in the series. Double Dash had co-op, which we have never seen again in the series, and it is the main draw for playing this game together. I enjoyed hanging out with friends back in the day and racing against each other and working together in many cases. Some of my best GameCube memories have been from playing this game, because who does not love kart racing games? The second game in the 3D series of Super Mario games was that of Super Mario Sunshine, which was a game that I did not get to play growing up, but watched a cousin play a lot of. I was a big fan of the original Super Mario 64 game, and I was always hopeful of getting to play another game similar to it. It took me sadly till the Nintendo Switch version, which was released for a limited time a few years ago, for me to be able to play Super Mario Sunshine. Super Mario Sunshine took place on a tropical island called Delfino. A shadow version of Mario vandalizes the entire island, and Mario is convicted for the mess. Mario is ordered to clean up the entire island using the Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dousing device, aka the Flood device. The game's mechanics are similar to the 64 game, but the game includes the Flood device, which allows you to use the power of water to clean up goop around the island. You can squirt the water in different directions, or you can shoot at the ground to hover up above and use it for different points in the game to platform specific areas. The water in the flood system is not infinite, and you'd have to use water in the area to refuel it. The game had you collecting shrine sprites to finish the game, and throughout many of the levels you'd have to find them. They introduced several boss fights along the way, which were some of my favorites. Every 3D Mario game has its own unique game element, and that was what made this experience unique, and in my opinion, one of the coolest game mechanics that came from a Super Mario game. I love this game so much. If you want to play the GameCube, this is a must-play. Thankfully, you can also play it on the Switch if you got a copy of the Super Mario 3D All-Star game during the 35th anniversary, but for many, you'll probably have to check it out on the GameCube, and honestly, that's my preferred way to play it. With our next game, we have one of the most unique games on the GameCube, and that is Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion was a launch title for the GameCube and was the second game that Luigi was the main character in, since Mario is missing. Luigi's Mansion has you exploring a haunted mansion searching for Mario while dealing with the ghosts by capturing them through a vacuum cleaner supplied by Professor Egod, who also is responsible for the creation of the Floods device in Super Mario Sunshine. Luigi's Mansion takes place throughout 4 stages, and each stage has a variety of ghosts and keys that you have to acquire to unlock doors throughout the mansion. Luigi has a flashlight and the Poltergust 3000, which is a high-powered vacuum cleaner. You will use a combination of flashing a ghost with the light to stun them and then sucking the ghost up with the vacuum cleaner. Each enemy ghost can be different and have specific combos and strategies to take them down. There are also portrait ghosts in some rooms that require specific things to happen before you can capture them. The game's atmosphere and music was great, and I genuinely love this game, and I believe that if you have never played the game, you are missing out. The final boss fight in the game was a lot of fun, and I just enjoyed the comical relief moments between the characters. If you do not have a GameCube, you can also get this game on the 3DS as well. Even with 2 more titles in the series existing, I am a bigger fan of the original compared to the sequels. Considered to be the last great game in the Paper Mario series, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door was released in 2004 and blew audiences away to the point where all future games in the series would be compared to this one. Paper Mario was a role-playing game created by Nintendo to be their answer to RPGs, but using characters like Mario and Princess Peach to tell a unique story and feature awesome role-playing game battle systems to give fans a unique experience. The Thousand Year Door borrowed many gameplay elements from the previous games, such as the drawing-based art style and the turn-based battle system that emphasized on timing moves correctly. Playable characters in the game included Mario, and in several parts you were allowed to play as Bowser and Princess Peach. All the environments in the game are made of paper, and there are many locations and worlds that Mario can explore that are amazing within the Thousand Year Door. The battles of the game are turn-based and take place on a stage. If you jumped or hammered an enemy prior to combat, you get a first strike, which adds some strategy to the game. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door was also praised because of the amazing story and the world that they developed. The different chapters focus on specific themes such as a floating city and more. There are also assistant characters that help you with combat such as Goombella, Goomba, Koops the Koopa, Madame Flurry, Yoshi, Vivin, Bob and Miss Miles. None of the games in the series has gotten close to being as good as this version on the GameCube. The recent Switch game, The Origami King, was not as fun as I was hoping, and again was just shy of being as good as The Thousand-Year Door. We've all been waiting for Metroid Prime 4 for the Nintendo Switch for quite a long time now, but at least we have the original games for the GameCube still to play. Metroid Prime was the first game in the series to use 3D graphics and is a first-person adventure game. Metroid Prime is a shooter, but also has heavy elements of action-adventure. Most of the game is in first person, but when you are in Morph Ball mode, you will play in third person. The gameplay for Metroid Prime has you solving puzzles, platforming, and shooting enemies. Outside of weapons that Samus uses in the game, you will also have a power suit that has different abilities, including the previously mentioned Morph Ball that allows you to compress into a ball so you can fit into narrow passages and draw energy bombs, and many more options. The Metroid series was mostly a 2D game series, but Metroid Prime was the first game in the series to venture outside of their normal, and it was a success. The game was such a success that it got 2 sequels and another one on the way. Metroid Prime, in a way, was Nintendo's answer to Xbox's Halo series. Nintendo did not typically make shooters, and they tried labeling the game differently to keep the family-friendly mantra going. Of course, with the Switch, we have gotten Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3, and those games are more successful as shooters, whereas Metroid Prime was still a story-driven experience with more action and adventure than a shooter. This game is only available on older systems right now, but it is possible we will get this remake or a port to the Nintendo Switch eventually. If you can access this game, it is a lot of fun and it is worth playing today. After finishing my PlayStation 2 games worth playing video, I realized I left one of the best games on the PS2 off that list, and I'm honestly glad that I did because it fits so well on this list as well, because it released on the PS2, GameCube, and the Xbox. Simpsons Hit and Run was one of the greatest animated show video game adaptations we have ever gotten. When trying to turn one medium into another, there are always hiccups that can lead to mediocre video games. When it comes to Simpsons Hit and Run, we were given a game that placed you directly into the world of the Simpsons show. Simpsons Hit and Run was a parodical take on Grand Theft Auto 3, and the game was a collaboration project with the show's writers and the cast to craft an amazing story with great dialogue. Simpsons Hit and Run features 7 levels that takes place across 3 maps, each level having its own missions and subplots. The different levels allow you to play as 5 different characters, including Homer, Bart, Lisa, Marge, and Apu, with Homer and Bart getting 2 chapters respectively. As the playable characters, you can travel by foot, perform melee attacks, kicks, jumping kicks, and a smashing move. Each character can drive a vehicle around town, which each one having their own specific vehicles and some hidden vehicles that you can unlock. Just like GTA, you can get into trouble and the hit and run meter will fill up and you will eventually be chased by the cops. The best part of the game is the collectibles, in my opinion, because it has so many references to the show. You can collect coins around the map, and you can use them for money to buy outfits that resemble several moments from the animated series. There are also 7 itchy and scratchy cards to collect across each level, and once collecting all of them, you will get a special itchy and scratchy show video. There are so many characters across the entire Simpsons series that you can run into, and there are many areas that you will recognize from the series. If you're a fan of The Simpsons, you will love this game. There has been no good Simpsons game since this game released, and sadly there was a Simpsons Hit and Run 2 game in development with an early gameplay prototype being made but never saw the light of day. That is why we deserve a port of this game today, because Simpsons is still relevant, and if SpongeBob can get one of those games re-released and a sequel, then there's no reason why we can't get Simpsons Hit and Run and a sequel as well in 2023 and beyond. So whoever you can make this game, please make it happen. But unless you can't, there's still the ability to play the Simpsons Hit and Run game on the GameCube. One of my favorite games ever made that is on the GameCube is Genius Sonority's Pokémon Colosseum. Pokemon means a lot to me, and I grew up loving the video games, and Pokémon Colosseum was the first and only true console Pokemon experience till recent consoles. Though Colosseum was a tad different from the mainline Pokemon games, it was one of the best experiences I had on the GameCube. In Pokemon Colosseum, the game has you play as a Pokemon trainer named Wes as you steal a snatching device from Team Snag'em using your two partner Pokemon Espeon and Umbreon. From there, you will battle different trainers as you travel across the many unique locations. With certain trainers that you run into, they will have shadow Pokemon that you can snag using Pokeballs. Shadow Pokemon, once captured, will struggle to listen to you and will have a purple gauge that shows up during combat that is drained by battling and coming to liking you as a player. Once it's empty, you can purify it by bringing them to Celebi's Shrine. Most of the Pokemon in Colosseum are from the first 3 generations of the Pokemon series. Battles are double battle formatted, and you can carry up to 6 Pokemon with you. The game plays like any game in the series, but it felt so much better being able to play it on the television, and the story was much darker and interesting to follow. The game even had its own region called Ur, and it had a desert feel to the world, and it was completely different to what we have seen in the previous games. This is not the only game released for the GameCube of Pokemon. There was a successor to Colosseum called Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. This game was set after the events of the first game and was set in the same area, but with a new cast of characters, a different story, and more Pokemon to capture. These games are very hard to find, and at this point when you do, they are expensive. I want to play these games again so bad, and if these games were to get Switch ports, I would probably lose my mind. But I will settle for getting copies for the GameCube at this time. These Pokemon games are must-plays on the GameCube, and no one can change my mind. When it comes to my top favorite GameCube game worth playing today, I feel the need to cheat a little and make it 2 games. These 2 games, though, are both from the same series, and it is nearly impossible for me to just pick one of them. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, in my opinion, are the best games in the series, and they are both my first games on the GameCube. I grew up on Nintendo, but during that era, I was a PlayStation 2 gamer. It was not till later on that I picked up a GameCube and got the chance to play some of these amazing games. I bought both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the first day that I got the system. Let's start with Wind Waker though, because Wind Waker was a completely different styled Zelda game as it featured a more cartoony art style. The game also stood out because it took place on a group of islands in a vast sea, which is different from the normal forest and kingdom setting. Wind Waker plays like many of the other games with sword and shield as your main use of weapons and protection. And there are also many unique items to collect, like a grappling hook, boomerang, and so on and so forth. You also ride a boat around from island to island. I love this game because of the graphics and the quirky characters that you can meet. I also love the story, and Ganon in this game is my personal favorite boss. Then with Twilight Princess, we get the complete opposite with more realistic graphics, and the game feels similar to some of the other games in the series like Ocarina of Time, but the game felt even more realistic. Twilight Princess also had a darker setting, and it introduced one of my favorite game mechanics within the series with the addition of Wolf Link. Being able to turn into a wolf, run around, and fight enemies was just a lot of fun. Twilight Princess also had interesting dungeons with boss battles that are some of my favorite bosses in any game series. I remember watching G4 and seeing Cheat do a video on this game, and I just remember how much I wanted it. Both Legend of Zelda games for the GameCube are some of the best games in the series and 2 of the best games on GameCube. If you cannot afford to purchase these games, they are pretty expensive, but you can try and find them on the Nintendo Wii U as well because they got HD remakes during that era. But they're starting to raise in price, so you might want to get them soon. There are rumors that these 2 games will get ported to the Switch, so if that happens, then we will all be blessed with a chance to play some of the greatest games ever made without going poor. All 10 GameCube games talked about today are worth checking out today because they are all amazing games that stand out amongst the crowd. There are many games I didn't talk about, but that does not mean that they are not good. If you have games that you love that I did not talk about, please talk about them below in the comments, along with your favorite GameCube memories. Do not worry, we will be back to normal PlayStation content very soon. I love all video games, and today I just want to showcase some love for one of my favorite game consoles and its games. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'm going to get back to playing some games. Check back soon because we will be talking about the PlayStation 3 games worth playing very soon.